So it's been almost 2 years since we moved here to Nashville, and I'm still amazed at the number of people that I get to meet. Even though it is a big city, it just amazes me how everybody is connected to everybody, and I've had a chance to meet some amazing entrepreneurs and just some really, really cool people. And the interview that you're getting ready to see is no exception. So today I get to interview Shawn Johnson, now Shawn East, also Andrew East. So this is a husband and wife duo. And if you know the name, so Shawn Johnson, yeah, she's an Olympic gold medalist, and I can remember her winning the gold medal, and I can remember crying. I mean, anytime like an American wins a gold medal, like it's a very emotional moment. So like I can remember like back in the day when that happened. And then I got a chance to hang out with her husband Andrew, who is like this big teddy bear, except the dude's got like quads of ginormity. I mean, his quads are huge. He's a big dude. The cool thing about him was that he has tried out for the NFL I don't know how many years, and he finally made a team last year for the Washington Redskins, and I think he's in training camp right now. Andrew, hope you're having a great time. Because training camp sucks. Just kidding, man. I know you're having a great time. So I got a chance to sit down with both of them, and really I just want to hear the story of how do you go from winning a gold medal to becoming an Olympic medalist, and then how do you transition into your next career, your next thing. So to see what Andrew and Shawn are doing on Instagram, on YouTube, I mean, they just have some amazing things going on. All right, real quick, one thing I did want to say is that the audio on this interview isn't the greatest. That is my bad. I thought I had the audio situation under control. So there is some echo in this, but I still want to share it with you guys because they share a lot of value, and they're just a great couple. They've got just a lot of fun stuff, a lot of cool stuff going on. So that's why I want to share it with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this interview with Andrew and Shawn. Awesome, here I am in the new home, which has not been released yet, of Shawn and Andrew here. So thanks for being on the channel.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So for those that maybe don't know who you are, a little bit of background, like who were you and who are you now?
I'll let you start your
Okay, so I competed in the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, China. I was a gymnast. I spent 20 years of my life being a gymnast until I met this guy. I went from gymnastics into like the sports entertainment world. I acted as like a personality, an ambassador for all sorts of different companies and TV shows. And then when I met Andrew and we got married, I kind of transitioned out of that into this whole digital space. So no longer in the sports entertainment world, but now transitioning into being an influencer.
She humbly passed over some accolades that I'll just take a second to brag on you about. She has a gold medal, 3 silvers, and then she also won Dancing with the Stars and was runner-up on another one. So she's legit. I'm very proud of her. I, on the other hand, am way less accomplished. I attended Vanderbilt. I started off as a civil engineer, and then I got my MBA, and ultimately ended up bouncing around the NFL for the past 4 years, trying to make teams. I signed 8 different contracts with six different teams, and just recently landed a contract with the Washington Redskins, which was a huge accomplishment for me to actually reach that dream of playing in a regular season game. But as I was bouncing around from team to team, that's how we got started into the social media, YouTube world, and it's been a blast doing that.
Yeah, so it's always fun because you see a lot of professional athletes, you know, and many that even have distinguished careers, like they retire at the age of 30. You know, it's like, now what do you do? And, you know, having, you know, been in the Olympics and Dancing with the Stars and, you know, going to the NFL and with all this time, you've got into, I don't know if it's YouTube mainly, but, you know, obviously in social and everything. And like, how has that transition been? And was that anything that you ever thought that you would be doing?
It's been really difficult for me. I think a lot harder for me than it was for Andrew, just because I spent most of my career from the time I was 12 and signed my first agent all the way until I was about 21, 22 years old. I spent my life in sports entertainment, and what that always looked like would be I would sign a deal with Coca-Cola, and they would tell me how I can act, how I can dress, how I can look, what I can say. And I just lived in this kind of almost like fake world of I had to fit the mold to whoever I was kind of talking to or acting for. And with socials and kind of being this influencer now and YouTube, having left the sports entertainment world, the transition of learning how to be vulnerable and actually be myself was really, really weird, because I had never really shared with the world who like I actually was outside of the endorsements. And it was a really challenging time for like Andrew to kind of get that out of me and to go on camera without makeup and to just say what I wanted and not have to be politically correct, and all this stuff is just difficult, because in my mind I was thinking about the brands and the, I don't know, the repercussions of it. But I've loved it. It's a freedom that I never had that I truly enjoy. So.
Yeah, her expectations for being camera ready and what I wanted to capture, that was always a big conflict that we had, because she's used to being makeup ready, having a full team to do her hair and do the makeup. And then you go to the YouTube world, and I feel like the more raw you are, the better that video, or the better connection that you form with your audience. And so I was all about that. I guess I'm more of the extrovert of the two of us. And
Yes.
and like building this community and getting to know the people, our viewers and our watchers, and our followers was so much fun to me. And so building that was my main priority. It wasn't, creating perfectly edited videos or always looking perfectly, well kept. That wasn't my priority. It was more like, hey, what can we do to relate to our audience? How can we build this connection? But yeah, it's always been a blast for me.
You both having sports backgrounds, and getting into digital online marketing, being an influencer, what were some of the beginning stages of actually turning that into something that pays you money, monetizing that? Were they sponsored deals? Were they selling merchandise? What did that look like in the beginning when you all right, we're gonna do this, but we obviously have to make some money. So how did you figure that out?
I would say for us, that was kind of a smoother transition, just because coming from sports entertainment and the Olympics, we fortunately had a background and a platform that was already there. And so I was already getting brand deals for Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and so monetizing those. But learning how to do the YouTube, we very quickly learned that none of that transfers over to YouTube. And Andrew was the genius behind all of it. I literally came home one day and had a friend text me and say, I like your YouTube channel. I was like, what are you talking about? So Andrew had started it, but he learned everything to go with it, and kind of how to start the monetization process and how to utilize that platform in a way that we could kind of make money from it, I guess.
Yeah. I view our trajectory as this: you have a platform, you don't know how to post content or how to monetize it. That's that's maybe a goal for some people, but they don't know how to do it because they're just focused on the followers and how can I build engagement. But we went from having a platform to then getting some brand deals to then getting to the point where AdSense was a substantial fixed revenue for us, to now actually building businesses and lines off of that. So we have a fitness line that Shawn started, we have online courses that we do, and we're moving away from the brand deals and trying to actually be the brand that we're promoting consistently. It's just better for our audience because we know them the best, and it's a more sustainable business. So that's the course we've been on.
So YouTube is that the main thing? Obviously you have the Instagram presence, but do you feel like YouTube is the baby that's going to give you the most exposure, more bang for your buck? Is that where you're enjoying spending your time?
I view YouTube as our most valuable platform, just because the longer form content people relate to more. On Instagram you get 60 seconds and that's great, and it's probably easier to build a platform on Instagram because there's so many users on it. And YouTube, definitely you have to essentially collaborate to build an audience on YouTube, whereas Instagram is just a little more shareable, I feel like. So yeah, the YouTube, we film everything for YouTube, and then we'll do cut downs to make it Instagram optimized, to make it Facebook optimized, but YouTube is our baby for sure.
So having, you said that you were a gymnast for 20 years, you know, and then you went into sports entertainment, and now when you run into people and they ask you like, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, how does it feel to respond, you know? What do you usually say? Like, what's your response now?
I feel like that is the most confusing question in the world when someone's like, what do you do? Because I never know how to answer, but I try to say like we work in digital marketing pretty much for a lot of people who don't understand the influencing world. Otherwise, if they do, I try to say like we've transitioned into YouTube and Instagram and the social space, but explaining to people that I took a career from the Olympics and went into sports entertainment and motivational speaking and writing books to now living on the in YouTube and making a living out of that is really hard for a lot of people to comprehend. But I don't know. It feels weird.
Yeah.
Like it's even weird for me to think about.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think.
I similar experience because like I've been a financial advisor for 16 years, and now having sold a business, like I had a blog. But it was always easier just to say I'm a financial advisor,
yeah.
You know. But now it's like I'm not doing that anymore. So like I say I have a financial planning blog, or I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just it's funny to be able to say that. But I just think the more that you say it, and the more confident it, and like you know, plus now I mean, at least with kids, like they respect it, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
More and more people are understanding it, but when you get to a certain generation, I feel like, and you're like I'm a YouTuber, people are like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
How can you be a YouTuber?
Obviously, you know, making a living from it is important, but what would you also say is like the bigger picture, like bigger impact, or, you know, what do you hope to do with having the channel and sharing, you know, what you shared? You mentioned like struggling, being vulnerable, you know, and just being more vulnerable. Like, what do you hope to accomplish, you know, by sharing your message and your guys' story?
When people talk to me about my NFL career, I always say like, you know, I'm more passionate about the things that Shawn and I are doing outside of football really than I am about football now, which is crazy to say because being a football player was always my dream. But I feel like the bigger picture, aside from making money off of it, and why I love what we do so much is because truly there is an audience out there who wants to hear what we have to say, and that's a responsibility on our part. And I'm a big believer that everybody out there has a message that I think needs to be shared because there's a community that can empathize with that and connect with that. And so, you know, whatever unique experience that you have or unique message that you have to share, social media enables you to do that and find the community associated with that message. So that's the bigger picture for me personally. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but that's what's so exciting is like, hey, impact is, I feel like, what we all want to walk away with at the end of the day, like actually making a difference. And sharing your message or sharing our message is what we set out to do.
I would say, it's a great question. I would say we live in a world and like society that puts people who have any type of success on a pedestal and makes them feel like, or makes it look like everything was easy and is perfect. And we kind of talked about this earlier, that if you come across success, people say, oh, you're so lucky, or it was so easy, or you were made for this, or you were born to do that. And I feel like there's so many more backstories that people skip over that, you know, the NBCs and the people who really share your story don't like to share for some reason. They always paint this picture of like professional athletes saying they were born for this and they trained so hard and they earned it. And yes, we did, but there's so many stories behind the scenes of struggle and vulnerability that people don't see that I think is really important. I work with a lot of kids and they'll say, did you go through this, or did you go through that, or did you have hard days, or did you want to quit, or did you, just so many questions that are relatable that people think they don't, if they go through it, they can never make it, I guess, that makes sense. And I feel like when we share the vulnerability that we went through, it can encourage people to kind of go for dreams that they probably thought they couldn't beforehand.
Yeah. You talked about being vulnerable, and I know, like, you know, Mandy and I, we, my wife, we had a marriage podcast and put on hold for the time being, but, you know, we shared a lot about our struggles and, you know, going to counseling and a lot of things that many couples either wouldn't do or wouldn't share openly. But we also understand that you can't untell something.
Yeah.
You know, like there's only certain things that are worthy of somebody's ears, so how do you guys decide on, being vulnerable to help inspire, but also just recognizing like, hey, this is something that we don't need to share this, on social, on YouTube. Did I just open up something?
This is marriage counseling right here. I feel like we get in our most of our arguments when it comes to YouTube and social media is choosing what to share. We try to have conversations before we post anything about what it is we want to share, what we want to keep private, and sometimes we can differ on that. Andrew likes to share everything. I like to keep some stuff to ourselves. So it's a give and take, but we try to have those conversations before we cross the line.
Yeah, this is definitely something that we struggle with, and the catch is the more open we are and the more we share, typically the better that performs on social media. And so my tendency is always to like feed that, and I hope I haven't lost sight of this is sacred to our marriage. But we're definitely doing a good job. We used to daily vlog, which
we learned very quickly
it's
that
so brutal.
we aren't daily vloggers.
Yeah, it's just really, really tough, and we've moved away from that. The benefit being we can plan stuff out and talk about it. We have more time to edit it, and so that's definitely helped us decrease the conflict there. Yeah.
It's hard when your life is your career, it's really hard to kind of draw that line in the sand, knowing what's too much and what's too little, and how to have a career but also have a home life that is sacred to you and secret from the world. So trying to find that line is really difficult, but we're getting closer to it.
Yeah, I think so.
So if I were to come back here 3 years from now, and we're reflecting back on what has transpired in that 3-year period, where do you see you guys together, like with YouTube, with the influence that you guys are doing? Like, what do you hope to accomplish? That you would feel like, man, the last 3 years have been amazing, have been a success for us.
Oh my goodness.
Probably should give you a little more time to prep for that one.
Every New Year's, like every turn of the year, we always sit down and we do like vision boarding, which you guys have talked about, and like goal setting. And with how everything has transpired with YouTube and social media and the platform we've pretty much built for ourselves, I want to continue growing that, just so we have a larger reach. But I also want to direct all of that into a greater cause that isn't as fluff filled. And we're starting to dream of like ways we can use the platform we have to create companies and charities that benefit from the platform we have. And 3 years from now, I would hope that that's up and running, whatever it is, and YouTube's still growing, and we have a family, and we have found that line in the sand. But it's a very big answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say 3 years from now, I think having a family would be a goal. We're doing a relationship series right now on our channel that people just love, and so we are. I don't mean to tread on your turf here, Jeff, but I think we're going to start a marriage podcast and show too, just because I want to sit down with other couples. I want Shawn and I to sit down with other couples and just learn from them on how they make it work, because I feel like now marriage is under attack more than it ever has been, just as far as like people being discouraged about it and why would I even get married in the first place. And I think it's really valuable, marriage, so I definitely want to create a lot of content around that, and I hope we're still connecting with our audience like we do now. That's been the funnest part of all of this. Yeah.
So if you're wondering, are Andrew and Shawn like that in real life? Like, they are. I had a chance to hang out with them. My wife Mandy and I, we've hung out with them. they're just a lot of fun. Like, they're quirky, they just have their stuff, like their funny stuff, like they like to do pranks on each other, and they're both super competitive, obviously, right? NFL player, Olympic medalist, like they are competitive on almost anything and everything. We got a chance to play this kind of like this charades game with them, and I'm like, they were out to win it, like no exceptions. There was no second place, like they wanted to win, and it was fun to see that competitive spirit in both of them. All right, y'all, if you haven't checked out their YouTube channel, please do. Check them out, I have a link in the description. Also follow them on Instagram. They got a lot of fun stuff going on, so be sure to check them out, and I hope you enjoyed this interview. Until next time, this is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Peace.